I want to hear, then we're going to stop and say, how are you going to deal with this? And then I'm going to add some information and ask you again how we're going to deal with this. Okay? So, a new student joins your 4th grade classroom. You are uncertain if this person is a boy or a girl. What are you going to do? Ask them. Great. Anybody want to add to this wisdom? Ask them.
Or you could introduce yourself with yours.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. That is one thing I meant to mention earlier. One of the ways that you can sort of deal with the pronoun thing is just by modeling it, right? So I was actually in some interviewing some candidates for a job at my place of work. And of the 5 candidates, one person sort of walked in the room and said, oh, my name is so-and-so, she, her pronouns. And then I was like, oh yeah, she or they pronouns, right? But I didn't say it with any of the other 4 candidates. It did, like I forgot to be honest. But as soon as they modeled it, then it reminded me to respond back. And sometimes people won't. Actually nobody else on the interview panel said theirs afterwards. And Girl Scouts, we actually do that quite a bit. We do the pronouns. So I was a little surprised that nobody else sort of responded back. But modeling it is a great way to do it without actually asking. But it is okay to ask, do you identify as a boy or girl? It's maybe slightly just sort of safer about how they might react to just say, what pronouns would you like? Okay. All right. After you ask the person for their pronouns, you hear Jerome using the wrong pronouns. Now what are you going to do? Oh, yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
What if you have a child who's young or whatever, and it's not something they're real familiar with, and you ask them that question, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. What's the pronoun, or what do you mean, what, like? I can easily see that coming up.
Can I just give an example of when my mom talks about me going to the store, my mom says she went to the grocery store. Like I just kind of model how other people talk about me for the young kids. And then that usually they're like, oh, my mom would say.
Great. Does that work? Okay, what are you doing with Jerome? Correct. And what are you going to say? Is there a scenario? I want you to tell me what you're going to say. Jerome.
Susie called she.
Yes.
I wouldn't say prefers, I'd say.
Oh yeah, Susie
Susie uses she. Okay. Or Susie would like you to use she. Okay. Right. Forget if there's a third scenario on this one. Yes. Okay. Okay. In this case, Susie uses they. And so Jerome, and this might, 4th grade. Shoot, I should have made this one an older one, but often adults who are like, they pronouns are ridiculous. And that whole argument that you already sort of shared with us about how we already use they pronouns, right? So the use of they pronouns is ridiculous, and I refuse to use them. Can someone model a response for me? Yes.
You can say, you might not like to wear a red raincoat, and somebody else might like to wear a red raincoat, and you can't stop them from doing that.
Okay, good. You had one? Did you raise your hand, or were you just moving your hand? In the Washington, okay. I thought you raised your hand, sorry. Any others? What else? What other things could be said?
Well, if you've already established, like, that your classroom is a classroom, and Jerome, this is in our classroom agreement, in our classroom whatnot, we respect our classmates, and so we will be using this term.
Yeah.
And
We'll
then
use
at
they
that
pronouns
right.
or Susie. Yeah,
At that point, if it's still using that, different pronoun.
I love the, sort of pointing back to things like classroom norms or guidelines. You can also just say, it's important that we, I think the guidelines one is great. If you're not in a classroom, I think it's important to respect people and their wishes and their identities. You wouldn't want someone to use the wrong pronoun for you, which is a lot like the red raincoat example, let's respect Susie and use they for that. Also, one of the things I say to comments like this is, what really matters to you? What kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be the person who is this supposed grammar stickler, who thinks that they can only be used in this plural instead of single way? Does that matter that much to you? Or does it matter more that you don't hurt people and that you actually respect people's identities. Because usually people can't, I mean, unless they're a real jerk, and I want to use a worse word than that, they can't really get around that because they don't want to actually be that bad of a person, but nobody's ever presented it to them quite that way before. Or they haven't thought deep enough because, whatever, they're a jerk, to go that far. Okay. So at your middle school, there is a student who has begun presenting very androgynously. I didn't define androgynously, did I? I did.
Yeah, you did.
They seem withdrawn and anxious. Oh, this one didn't come up with, okay, ignore the other ones. What are you gonna do before we get to this? Just with you have the information that this person's kind of portraying themselves androgynously. What are you gonna do with that? Yes?
I would introduce myself and use my pronouns and just see how they respond.
Great, so we're just gonna sort of test the waters by introducing ourselves and use our pronouns. That's one great suggestion.
This happened to me, like this year, I saw someone that I've met once or twice, and so I just went up to them and I said, hey, what is your name again? I forgot, to see if they use a different name. And
If
they
they're
ended up
changing
not
names.
using a different name, but.
Okay, yeah, so that's a great way to see if they're changing names. Excellent.
Well, I think as I'm a high school teacher, and so I would say, you know, my class was a safe space. I would introduce myself and just recognize that, like, I'm reading the second one, sorry, but the second prompt, but like, but again, this African as an allyship in the sense of like, there's someone I can go to if I need adult support easily.
Okay.
Identify me.
Great. Now, I think this was in the meeting I was in just before this, but we were talking about sort of making assumptions about withdrawn and anxious students and being sort of careful about approaching them and, you know, like putting them in an awkward, like you might be pushing them to out themselves to you before they're ready. So I would just say approach gently.
Yeah.
And maybe leave the door open without pushing really hard,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, I see you've been dressing more androgynously. Are you identifying as a boy or girl right now, right? Like, that's probably a little too, you know, heavy touch, unless you know this person really, really well. Yeah.
Would it be safer to like address the class, just a reminder that if you have anything that you want to talk to about, I'm a safe person, so that way you're not singling a person out, and it's more to the group.
I think that's another good way to handle it in a more broad way. Part of the reason why I put in that anxious and withdrawn thing is there's also worries about suicide among LGBT communities. It's really high rate, really, really high rate. I think it's something like 4 times their cis and straight counterparts, so it's really 5 times. Oh, I had 5 minutes, yeah. We're good. 4 times 5 minutes, what? Yeah. So, I'm saying just tread carefully, but I'm also saying it might be an important moment for you to reach out to say the right. Right, and I'm not saying I know the right answer exactly for this. It's gonna depend a lot on the kid, it's gonna depend a lot on your relationship with that person, it's gonna depend a lot on the context. But I also, that's a warning sign. If someone starts to be much more withdrawn than they used to be, for example. I think we do we feel like we need to say more about the second part of this scenario? A senior at your school decides to transition. People in the school are struggling to remember to use the new name and pronouns even months later. What are you gonna do? Come on, y'all. I know we're getting tired. 4 minutes. Remind them.
I think there's, they might wanna stand up for themselves.
Okay, so they might want to stand up for themselves. You might want to ask them how they want you to support them, like we talked about earlier. And what did you say?
Practice.
Practice. Like you're forgetting, so you want to practice. And you're also modeling.
And you're also modeling, or, you know, you're with the, you know, you're lunch with the same people, those are your peeps, right? Those are people you trust, and those are people you can be uncomfortable with, so practice your discomfort with people you already are familiar with, and practice, and then you'll model.
Great, thank you, yes.
I was thinking it says people in the school, and it kind of depends on if you're talking about kids or if it's adults. If there's an adult in the school, you're going to say that other adults are continuing to make, because you can address that differently in a staff meeting or something. Just
I I did intentionally leave it. Yeah. I did intentionally leave it vague, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I do think how you address other students who are, you know, misgendering or making this mistake might be very different than how you would address, your colleagues, teachers, principals, paras, whatever. A friend of yours asked, oh, you know what, I was sort of thinking also that this might be a student, your friend, a senior. So, as a student, a friend of yours asked, or as a teacher, has he started hormones yet? When is he gonna have surgery? So what are you gonna say now? That's highly appropriate for you to ask.
Very personal.
It's very personal. That's not for me to answer, right? I think that's maybe the least, kind of in your face version. You know, I don't feel like that's something for me to share. Maybe you want to ask that person or ask the person directly.
But then, yeah, you wouldn't wanna send them to go ask them about surgery.
That's true.
But
Oh, yeah.
usually they're asking you, which means they don't
Sorry,
want to confirm.
you're right, surgery, I forgot, I was thinking about the pronoun thing, but, like, is that person trans or whatever? That's the one where I think it's more appropriate to say, you know, you should be asking them that question, and if you don't feel comfortable asking that question, think about why, because it's maybe not appropriate, right? But yes, surgery, you're right, sorry.